In 2030, people living in South Africa feel safe at home, at school, and at work. They enjoy a community life free of fear. Women walk freely in the streets and children play safely outside. That is the vision for South Africa's future as it is outlined in the National Development Plan. But what's the situation right now? South Africa is without a doubt one of the most violent countries in the world. Violence especially affects people in disadvantaged communities and particularly young people. 1 in 4 young people has been a victim of violence and crime. Violence especially inhibits the free participation in social and economic life of women and girls. It makes people fear their fellow citizens. Today, 1 in 3 households say they avoid walking in their neighborhood. Violence erodes the cohesion of communities and ultimately undermines South Africa's development. People lose trust in the government or their local authorities to protect their interests. Meanwhile, violence and its effects is costing the country billions of rands every year. Many people want the government to take a hard-line approach. They want more police on the streets and harsher punishments for convicted offenders. Poorer people, those living in townships and informal settlements, do whatever they can to make themselves more secure, from installing burglar bars to initiating community patrols. Residents in more affluent neighborhoods barricade their homes with high walls and electric fences. During the past decade, 70,000 new police officers were hired. But bulking up security will not make the causes of violence go away. What's been missing in the past is a common understanding of how to prevent violence in the first place. At this point, it's important to understand the difference between safety and security. Security means protection against a known or a perceived threat. Safety means to live without fear and threat. The goal, therefore, is to create a safe South Africa, and this can only be achieved through the prevention of crime and violence rather than clamping down on it. In order to prevent violence, however, we first have to understand its causes. What makes people violent? The risk factors that contribute to violence and violent crime in South Africa are extremely complex and diverse. For instance, rapid urbanization, accompanied by a lack of basic services such as health, education, and housing. The legacy of apartheid, a violent system in itself that left enormous problems of social inequality and spatial segregation. The prevalence of dysfunctional families, and the widespread social acceptance of violence, especially against women and children. Too few opportunities for decent work and a fair salary, especially for young people. The abuse of drugs and alcohol, and, most importantly, people's own experience of violence and crime. To explain violent behavior, especially among young people, the World Health Organization developed the ecological model. Taking the individual as a starting point, the model identifies the risk factors we've mentioned and arranges them on different levels. The more risk factors a person is exposed to, the more likely it is that he or she will become violent. To address all these factors, a range of interventions are needed. This means a diverse group of different role players have to work together to tackle the various causes of violence. These role players include social workers, police officers, teachers, politicians, people in the private sector, members of civil society, and those are just a few. Getting all these role players involved is critically important. Successful prevention can't be achieved alone. It starts with collaboration and has to stretch across many different sectors. This so-called systemic approach to violence and crime prevention combines the strengths and the skills of all these people. It creates an interplay of initiatives that build on and support each other. In order to promote this systemic approach, the German and South African governments have agreed on a joint initiative, the Inclusive Violence and Crime Prevention for Safe Public Spaces program. This program aims to support the realization of the South African government's priority outcome number 3, namely, all people in South Africa are and feel safe. The program is jointly implemented by the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development and South African partners. The main national government partner from the South African side, which helps to bring together other governmental partners such as the police and social development, is the Department of Cooperative Governance. The program facilitates a community of practitioners who focus on violence and crime prevention. Right across the country, there are already thousands of individuals doing remarkable work and making communities safer. Municipalities are upgrading open spaces and creating vibrant parks. Community-based organizations are running life skills programs. NGOs are implementing drug and alcohol abuse awareness projects. Businesses are investing in local safety initiatives. Local organizations are addressing the problem of violence against women and girls. The VCP program's goal is to bring these different role players together and enable them to provide their services to increase the safety in public spaces with a focus on the active participation of young people. The VCP program is pursuing this goal through 4 areas of action. Firstly, the program is helping to establish and strengthen platforms for knowledge exchange, peer-to-peer learning, and collaboration on violence prevention and safety. The program supports networking amongst practitioners across different sectors, as well as the different spheres of government. Secondly, the program supports opportunities for training and professional development for students and practitioners. These individuals need to have a sound understanding of approaches to violence and crime prevention. Together with training institutions and universities, the VCP program facilitates training opportunities to further professionalize the work of these practitioners. Thirdly, the program provides technical support to strengthen interventions at a local level. The VCP program assists selected pilot municipalities to introduce a so-called safety lens into their processes. This means, for instance, that safety and violence prevention issues feature more prominently in integrated development plans or other relevant strategies implemented by government at the local level. Fourthly, the VCP program supports initiatives that unlock the potential of youth. Since most perpetrators and victims of violent crime are young people, they are central to preventing violence. The VCP program therefore supports the implementation of initiatives that give young people a voice, that provide them with alternatives to violence and crime, and that strengthen their resilience. These 4 areas of action don't stand in isolation. They are intertwined and mutually support the formation of a community of practitioners. Safety is everybody's business. Violence is preventable if we join forces to address the many root causes of violence from different angles. The VCP program works for a community life free of fear and violence in South Africa, and supports the vision for safer communities in the National Development Plan. the Inclusive Violence and Crime Prevention for Safe Public Spaces program, promoting joint action to make communities safer in South Africa.